Joyful Talk Episode 3, Motivation. Welcome back, nice to have you here again. One of the topics you have chosen, most of you have chosen, that you wanna hear about is motivation. So for me, there are two types of motivation. There's the emotional motivation where you kind of get pumped up to do something, you really want to do it and you're all excited. And then there's the deeper kind of motivation. And a few years back, all I knew was this emotional motivation, so I learned a few tricks about how to actually pump myself up and get to working. But I could never keep it up for more than a few weeks. I used to try to pick up regular exercising and getting things done more on time and eating healthier and all these good things that I pumped myself up and got motivated to do, but I couldn't keep it up for more than a few weeks because this emotional motivation it's like a kind of like a balloon that you puff full of air and it's gonna keep flying. It's gonna keep flying until it runs out of air or until it hits a wall and then it just drops and it's done. So if you want, I can teach you how to pump yourself up and feel the motivation. It's quite easy actually. Here's how to do it. What you do is it's easier to do with your eyes closed. You imagine yourself that you're standing on a road, or better yet, that you're walking on a road. And in front of you, on that road leads to all the good things that will happen if you keep working on your goal. Let's say you have to study for the exam and you have all these boring books that you have to study, but you gotta do it. You gotta do what you gotta do. So you want to feel more motivation towards that because it's boring. So then you imagine yourself walking on that road and in front of you, far away in the distance, imagine yourself walking towards all those things that are going to happen if you succeed at the exam. Imagine yourself, see the picture of celebrating your good grades with your friends on a party, see them congratulating you and being all jealous and maybe even in the distance farther up, you'll see yourself having a respectable, well-paid job so that you can actually support yourself and maybe your family quite well and still have some free time to watch streams and play games and stuff while still having a good job. All these cool things that actually could result from you succeeding at the exam. Whatever it is for you, for your goal, for your whatever it is. Just imagine all those good things in the future and imagine yourself walking towards them. It's a metaphor for your brain so that your brain knows that by reading those boring books, you are actually going towards something that is pleasurable. And let yourself feel that coolness, those cool emotions, those nice things that will happen in the future. Let yourself feel that as you are looking at those images right there in front of you. Because ultimately it's just emotions, so you might as well feel them. And then once you got that, imagine behind you all the bad things that could happen if you're too lazy and you're not studying and you fail the exam. Imagine yourself eventually dropping out of school and then scrubbing toilets and having the biggest asshole ever as your boss as you have to scrub toilets and then he takes a shit in the toilet and you have to scrub it again because he tells you to, and since you failed your studies, that's the best job you can get. Imagine shitty things like that behind you and imagine these things chasing you, so you need to keep moving forward, otherwise they will catch you up. And also feel the bad emotions associated with those things, because ultimately motivation is just going towards the pleasure and running away from pain in different metaphorical forms, so imagine going towards pleasure, going towards what's good, and then running away from what's bad. And whichever version of the bad and good works for you in your situation, just imagine yourself moving forward as the only way of going towards what's nice and running away from what's bad. and that will make you feel something. I can tell, because it made every client of mine feel something when I was doing coaching. It's a really cool way of invoking motivation for the moment. But that's just the emotional motivation. Nowadays I just never use that thing, because I have discovered a much deeper source of motivation that is a little bit harder to explain, but I will do my best. I think it comes from my definition of who I am, my personal standards of what I stand for. Think about taking a shower, for example. If you don't take a shower for a day, you're probably okay with it. If you don't take it for 3 days, you may itch a little bit, scratch yourself now and there. But you're probably gonna be still fine. But if you don't take a shower for a month, now you're gonna smell yourself, and that's gonna go over the edge, and then you will just have to take a shower. And if you think about it, there is a moment, there is a breaking point beyond which you just have to take a shower, because your level of dirtiness is beyond your standard for what's acceptable. You have your standards for what is acceptable in every area of your life. If you really think about it, there is a certain amount of mess you can accept in your room or in your space office. There's a certain amount of mess you can accept and live with, but if it gets too much, you're gonna clean some of it up, because there's always a breaking point beyond which it's just not acceptable anymore. Maybe for you, it's just if you can't move around in your room without stepping on something important, maybe then you'll actually clean it. And there's also a standard for how hungry can you be before you actually gotta go and take a snack. And for some people, the standard of how hungry you can be is so low, they actually eat before they are hungry and then they get fat. The standards drive your behavior all the time. And there is also a standard of productivity. There is a certain amount of laziness beyond which you're just gonna get up and say, alright, I gotta do something with my life because this is fucked up. There is a certain breaking point of laziness also, and of exercising and health. A few years back, it was completely fine for me to spend a whole week in front of a computer with little to non-physical activity, and it was okay. Nowadays, if I don't do anything hardcore physical, if I don't get a good workout in 2 to 3 days, I start feeling like a total wimp and I can't take it anymore. I just gotta do something. I just get down to the ground and do push-ups and stuff. Because my standards have risen. Your standards change all the time. And if you think about your life, there are many situations in which your standards have just changed. Because you just decided you're a different person now. Things that were okay before are not acceptable anymore. Your standards change all the time. And the way to have very reliable source of motivation is to raise your standards of what are you willing to accept in your life and what is not acceptable anymore, what you will not put up with anymore. So you just basically change your definition of yourself, of who you are, like I did in the past year. Basically, before my hand injury, I was kind of a wimp. And then my physical therapist told me that in order to heal my hands, I gotta strengthen my back muscles. So I changed my standards. It was no longer acceptable for me to never work out and never exercise, because I had to heal my hands. It was really important for me. So I decided that I will exercise 5 days a week. And since then, for 8 to 9 months, I think it's like 8 months, I've been exercising regularly, and that's motivation way beyond any emotion you can feel. It comes from the standards of what I accept and what I don't. The same thing happened a month ago, where there was this moment, where I was just going shopping, and I remembered myself from a few years back when I was practicing StarCraft. I remembered how smart I was, how sharp my thinking was, how good I was at solving problems, how fast I was thinking. It's a very tricky thing. It's a subtle difference. But I remembered how smart I was when I was practicing StarCraft. And I thought, man, I want to feel at least as smart every day. It's just, by comparing that memory of a few years back and the memory of today, I realized that by comparison, I am sluggish and dumb. I mean, I was so freaking sharp mentally back then, because StarCraft is like the hardest game in the universe. So I decided there in that moment, it's no longer okay, it's no longer acceptable to be as dull as I was. And since then, every day I do exercises to improve my focus, my memory, my ability to solve problems. I usually use the exercises from the site called lumosity.com, but there are a ton of tests for intelligence that I can use to train my brain to get smarter. And in the last 3 weeks, I did improve my focus, my concentration, my way of thinking. I even speak in more grammatical sentences, I think, in English, which is a nice improvement for my live streaming. So basically, the best way to get motivated long term is to raise your standards for what is acceptable, what is okay, and what isn't acceptable anymore, what you will never put up with. You may also think of your standards like, think of your standard for what is acceptable in terms of other people insulting you. You can see it everywhere, in the movies, in the people's behaviors. There are some insults they will just brush off, and then when you maybe say something about their mother, or I don't know, or something about their girlfriend, they go all crazy and I want to punch you in the face. There are standards for what's acceptable and what's not, and those change all the time. So raise your standards for what is acceptable in your life, and you will find yourself working harder, and it's gonna be easy for you to work harder. Because if you raise your standards, you don't need to struggle with self-discipline issues to make yourself motivated to do something. It becomes the new standard thing, the new standard behavior. So raise your standards. The easiest way to raise your standards is to think about what's important to you in life. What do you value in life? And connect your new higher standards to your values. For example, one of my standards is something like being a badass, being better than others, kind of competing, kind of just getting better and stronger every day. I'm not sure how to name it with one word, maybe just self-improvement, but I like to feel like a badass, like to feel better than I was yesterday. It's one of the best things in my life. So my standards for physical and mental exercising every day are strongly connected to that value of being better every day, and it's just lovely. I'm really happy since I've raised my standards, even though I work more. You may think that if I'm working more, then I must be more tired and stuff. No, I'm happier and I'm better off. Also, one of my very important things in life. Another very important thing in my life is live streaming. It's really important to me. So, it's a silly example, but before I started live streaming, I would wash my hair like once in a week max, maybe once in 2 or 3 weeks, and my hair looked awful. And I didn't care, because personal appearance is not important to me. But once I started live streaming, it became important because it was connected to my value. I value live streaming in my life. So I raised my standards for personal hygiene as well. So that's how you raise standards. You realize what's important to you in life, and you figure out that if you raise your standard, you will experience more of that important thing in your life. Whatever it is for you. So figure out what's important for you. You may want to do that by asking yourself a question: when did I feel most fulfilled in my life, and why? Or asking yourself a question: why am I doing what I'm doing? What's so important about it? If you just keep asking yourself those questions, you will figure out what matters in your life, and then connect your higher standards to that, and you will find yourself with a much stronger sense of motivation that you've ever held. At least that was my experience for the past year. And I'm gonna keep exercising, and I'm gonna keep training my brain, and I'm gonna keep raising my standards. Maybe I will pick up healthier food. Lately I've been eating a lot of sweets. But I have to figure out what's so important about eating healthy for me, because I can do smoothies with vegetables and fruits, and I can replace sweets with that, but why would I do that? I'm not that motivated yet. Maybe if I consider that the health and vitality of my brain, I really value my brain. I've never drank in my life, because I really value my brain as my most important tool in life, most important uh, way of earning income and having fun is my brain. So I never drink. Maybe I will connect my higher standards of food to that value, and I will eat much less sweets, much more healthy fruit smoothies. So take that, sweets. Get out of my life. Thank you so much for watching the Joyful Talk about motivation. I really enjoyed this one. The next Joyful Talk I may actually restrict to a select amount of my viewers. Maybe I will connect it with a subscriber system. Maybe I will do it only for my subscribers now. But these three first episodes, I'm glad you've had a chance to see them. Let me know what you think in the comments, on the stream chat. Better in the comments here, but on the stream chat as well if you want to discuss something. It was really fun. Thank you for watching. And again, keep an eye on Twitch TV/JoyfulRogue, because that's where I am 5 days a week on European evenings. I'll see you next time. Click. Left.